What is going on, everybody? Lukey Boy here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Genesis Critterz as a potential flip opportunity because I've been watching these for a while, and yeah, there's something that I want to get into. Annoyingly, well, I go over my strategy and thought process behind it, but you know, if you don't know what Genesis Critterz is, you can go onto their Twitter, and it's basically you can claim land, build, earn in-game currency, and survive in Minecraft metaverse, right? And yeah, something that I always do, although I'm not logged into this account, which is really annoying, is well, you can't see it here, but basically the followers, you can't actually click, are some big names, and so that's always a nice quick thing to identify if some big, you know, people are following projects because they're interested and like the idea. This is very similar to NFT Worlds, and you know that I didn't get burned, made some decent profit, but obviously this then went up way great. This went to 4.7 at one point. Then I bought in, like, if no one's watched it, back here somewhere. Not even back here, I bought in somewhere back here, and sold, like, you know, here. I was like, yes! And then it goes boom, up here, but whatever, all good. That was back in the sort of earlier days when I was just trying to make some profits, and that is the downside of shorter term profits, you know, 2 to 4x. Sometimes it can go higher if the collection overnight, for example, blows up and then you notice that it's way higher. But if you're following along day to day, obviously each strategy has their own upside and downside potential. The upside potential lost is waiting for something like this. So that's why it's good to either have a hybrid philosophy where you're buying multiples and then you sell on the way up, and then maybe you hold one for 5 to 10 ETH, and that's your plan. And worst case, this drops down to 1 ETH, or you still made some decent profits. You get what I mean? So sort of have like an entry and exit strategy base, but obviously that will require more capital to buy more. You know, back when this is 1.0.1. Obviously, it doesn't take as much capital to get 3, 4, 5, but still, it's still, you know, decent chunk of cash, isn't it? So that long term, that's something I'm trying to do a bit more of, but of course that takes time. So Genesis Critterz is very similar to the NFT Worlds. NFT Worlds, though, you have a land, you can see, you go in and you can create things, and there's currencies and there's various things very similar. Obviously, the quantity of this is less than the the Critterz land. So this is actually the character, but if you want to see what the land is, it's Critterz plots. Now it does actually say there's 10,000 and whatever amount of NFTs, but there are ones that are, if you want to go and have a look, there are ones that are claimable using blocks. So blocks is the currency, you're able to actually buy them basically with blocks. And actually, it's really cool because you can buy little parcels and they all connect together in the big map. It doesn't load, not the end of the world. You can go ahead and have a look yourself if you want. And this is something that I want to, well, I've got some lands already that I bought whenever I bought them back in the day. Yeah, that thing doesn't work anyway, fine. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I can do it through here. Yeah. And if you want to go and look at plot map, let's just connect this up. You know, this is the map, this is the lands. I got some in here somewhere. I mean, look at the size of this thing. Crazy size. But, you know, in theory, like in terms of longevity, of course, you want to have more access for people to play and enter the game and all that kind of thing. And, you know, if you go in, you can see the plots. Yeah, these are plots. So you can see view on OpenSea, view on OpenSea. Some of these are going to be staked, meaning they're not on OpenSea because they are basically staked, meaning you can rent them out, which is cool. So that people that want to play the game can basically rent out for a very small fee, like a weekly fee, and they can go ahead and build on these plots and all that kind of thing. And you can't build on them unless you own them, of course, and that's kind of the philosophy. But to actually play the game and do all that, you have to buy a Critterz, and you can basically, you can see 90% staked, meaning if you stake it, you can then use that character on your land and build and earn blocks like a reward. basically playing Minecraft. So obviously at the moment Minecraft just plays. There's no like play to earn. This is sort of integrating or adding another layer on top, where it then allows you to basically play exactly the same game on your land, build stuff other people can't build, and then there's currencies and you build things and people can go and have, just interact and do cool stuff. Of course, these kind of things are relatively newer in the world of play to earn. Play to earn is still relatively new in terms of there's no mental game out there like Call of Duty or something, which is play to earn. But there's lots that are using like the Unreal Engine 5 and stuff, which is going to be sick graphics basically. But I quite like this because there's like 200 300 million active users on Minecraft. It's one of the biggest. Let's have a look. Minecraft users, not usernames. What's that one about? Only players. This is kind of 2020, but you can kind of see, you can kind of get the gist of it, right? We don't need to go into too much detail. And this is a good one for flipping as well. So this is something I would like to get into to initially flip, but also long-term hold. But again, it is 1 ETH entry fee. Yesterday it was at 0.85. Really annoyingly, this is the problem with stuff like this. I don't want to have like 1 ETH sitting there for an unknown period of time in the event that this goes to the price I want. Obviously, I want to use it, but I want to be monitoring this. So the reason I like this is because obviously a lot of people follow it. It's very similar to NFT World. Has actually some slightly additional implementations like characters, which does not happen on NFT Worlds. So it's a little bit more like sophisticated almost. With the what's the word? Like there's more to it a little bit. So in theory, that could make it a little bit more complicated, but long term, I really like the concept that there's characters and then there's land. So if you just want to play the land side of it, you can. If you just want to play the this, and what you can do is you can then rent this out and you earn blocks, a proportion of blocks related to that person playing the game, which is nice as well. If you want like some passive income, you can rent them out basically. And you can see here, this is the chart. Obviously not hugely old. Again, remember I like to see it down here with volume low. Obviously you never know how low it will go because here it's not great volume. And that went to 1.2, obviously, and then it went to 1, 0.9. Yesterday it was at 0.85, but the problem is I didn't have that available like right then. I had like half an ETH, 0.5. And I sold a Desperate Ape wife on purpose with small profit because I wanted to get in. I wanted to liquidate something to get in because I've been waiting for ages. Because what happened before, this got to around this price. And then the next day I woke up, it was like 2.7 ETH, or I think it was 1.4. The next day I woke up, it was like 2.7 ETH. And I was like, oh my God, like I just wanted to get in so badly. I just could not get in because I didn't have that available. The problem is, yes, there's not like a lot of volume, but this was 0.85 yesterday and then it went to 0.95 and that's 1. And the problem is I got 1 ETH in my wallet and so that's not enough to cover gas as well. So I either wait for it to come down or I may miss the opportunity. And on the flip side, the downside of this is I might miss the opportunity. So then I've sold a Desperate Ape wife for no reason. And that happened before. I wanted to get in, I tried to sell, I sold something and then the price went up to like 1.7. So I wanted to get in. This has happened twice actually thinking about it because it went to 2.7 the very first time and that's where I first had the interest to, okay, that really did pop. And a lot of people say you want 2 to 4x, but when it's a slightly higher premium, like 1 ETH, I'm happy to sell it like 1.7. Make half an ETH in hopefully like a week or 2 weeks. Or it'll probably be more than that, 0.6 ETH. Again, if it popped up to 2.7, 2 ETH, whatever, overnight, sometimes it does. It can go. You can't. I know it's an average, but it did it somewhere around here. I think it was around here, and it popped up to here within like 2 days. And obviously, I wouldn't have sold here because it would have been like, I wouldn't have sold anywhere along here because it wouldn't have changed. And overnight, my entry was like 1.4, popped up to here. I think it was like, for like a tiny period of time, it was like 2.7, I remember. Even if you got in sold above 2, some nice gains. And then I could have done that again and again. And in theory, this could net, like, I see this going to like 5 ETH at some point. And I don't know if I'm right, but it'd be interesting to follow along. Like, I like to I want to see, originally I never used to predict. And it could go to 20 ETH, that's the thing, but I want to have like I want to research and look at things, and then I want to put like a rough price of what I feel it's worth, and then if it gets there, that's a check mark to say that I'm in the right direction. I'm starting to learn and understand values and stuff. 90% stake means there's actually hardly any. If you actually look, there's only 274 that's available. And in terms of buying, if you click here, there's 159 on sale out of this. And if this game, or whatever you want to call it, like ends up exploding even a little bit compared, in relation to something similar, then I can see it really taking off and doing well. And so, for me, this would be a flip, looking potentially to get something that looks cool, maybe the frog, maybe the box, or you can get the gas mask if you want, and then looking to flip it, initially. And if I could get 2 or 3 at some point, like short term, if I can just flip it and then maybe buy back down at the cheap, and then maybe buy another one or something. It just depends on the ether I've got spare. This is something to follow along with, though. This is like kind of paper trading, It's like, oh, I would buy this at this today, even though you're not doing it, and then see over the next week or two what it goes up to or down to. So sometimes it's interesting to see where this goes and just play it and just do some sort of playing with yourself, yeah, not that stuff. And something like down here, I obviously don't value the price. In theory it could go down there, but there's nothing to say it can't. In the bear market it may, but it's still finding its range, if you get what I'm trying to say. It's still finding its value, and again, it does depend if you're in a bear market or a bull market in terms of where the price could fall. So that's something to bear in mind as like an extra thought process. But I'm going to try to get into this. If I don't and I miss it, fine. Again, I'm still going to watch, and I've been looking at this for like 2 months, waiting to get in, and it's been 1.5, 1.7, 2 ETH, and I've just waited and watched it and seeing what's going on. Again, I like to see when there's like little volume. Obviously, if the volume ever pops up like this again, then it's with a 228 sales and there's only 100 and something available. If we get that, there's only 271 that's actually on OpenSea. So what people would have to do to get that off is to unstake them on the platform, pay gas. So there's more of like a barrier to entry in terms of sending it back to OpenSea, because you actually have to initiate it and pay some money. And if you catch the pump before people start doing that, the floor could easily rise quite quickly, and that's why I suspect why it does rise quickly. When I've checked back and seen it change, and that's why I really wanted to get in yesterday. 0.85, I just didn't have it. I tried to sell a Desperate Ape Wife, annoyingly. The problem with that is that Desperate Ape Wives, I made like a tiny profit. I don't even know what it was in the end. A couple £100, 100 euros, whatever, dollars. I don't know, I need to see. I bought it for 0.55 on a bid, so there was no gas. And I'll try to get it today. I'll maybe try and just to get rid of a Galaxy Warrior that I, don't like as much. Like in terms of, like if I'm collecting a collection, that I'm doing it for the art, I'm happy to get rid of something that is my least favorite. I don't want to force sell stuff. I've still got plenty of stuff in here. I could sell this for 0.8. I could sell these for around half an ETH. I could sell some of these. I could sell some of these. I could sell this thing for 0.75, but I don't want to do that because that's not my plan. And I don't want to start forcing liquidations. Obviously, I still got this one. Forcing liquidations for the sake of trying to get something. And then, what if this pops up to 1.2 ETH in the next week, and this pops up to, if I sold these two, or whatever. And it's like is that gonna? Yes, it could work out, but if I've already made a calculation to do something, I don't want to be forced liquidating, even with a profit. I bought this for 0.59, and it'll be like 0.1 profit, still profit. But do I really want to be doing that? Probably not. You can to an extent, but I wouldn't suggest doing that like full on, because long term, like obviously, it's more chance that more collections are going to do well than just one collection doing well. Yeah, that's why I say don't put all your eggs in one basket and buy like 50 of the same thing. You can, and people really do that. That's just my strategy, because then you're relying on one thing to pump. Yeah, if it does, you can sell them all, or you can sell a majority or whatever. But I like to have options so that if these are pumping, then this isn't, and I can day to day there's a little bit more activity. and then that means more day to day. I have more liquidity to buy in, rather than waiting to sell everything at one point and then there's no opportunities. I enjoy it, so I'm trying to play that side of the game. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I really like the concepts. Obviously, this is going to take a lot of a lot of time to a lot of time in NFT world. A lot of time is like 3 months. So don't think I'm talking about years and years and years. Yeah, obviously long term it should do even better. But I would then suggest going to the Discord, reading up on what they're doing, white paper, implementations, any partnerships they're doing, blah blah blah. But that's just something that I'm going to follow along and hopefully buy if I can. And it's probably it's something that you can also follow along on the side just to see see what's going on, just as an interest, side interest to see, also just see if I'm right. And don't get me wrong, I could see this going back down to like 0.8 because it was like there yesterday, but I was happy at the time to say 1 ETH. That is about the price that I was like, yep, you know what, I'm happy with that price. So again, a lot of things do sometimes go back down below what I bought, but over the slightly longer term, they will find their balance and go back up. Now, in a bear market, they might not be the case. So as soon as I notice the bear market, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious in my assessment of the floor price, because things can go way down when everything is slower. There's not much volume. I've talked about that in a gazillion videos. Where obviously on OpenSea June, when it's down here. I mean, we literally had yesterday our most highest volume day. So the most volume traded on OpenSea. Obviously, you can see here the month. So when we're down here, prices can really go down. Or if you see a trend, obviously, that going down, I'm more likely to wait longer, even if it takes 2 months, because I'd rather buy in at 0.4 on this Critterz than buy at 0.8 thinking that's really good. But then obviously, once it gets to 0.4, potentially here, and then here, it just gets back to 0.8. It's double the amount of time it's going to take me to actually get to profit. So I'm waiting longer, which you don't want to really do, in my opinion. Again, you never know where the bottom is, so you may miss opportunities. It may never go as low as you want, and then you may miss it, but there's plenty of opportunities out there, and so it doesn't really matter too much. You just got to start getting familiar with all the projects and the things that are interesting, things that you understand. I understand gaming a lot. And the appeal to this kind of thing, just because I've been playing games like forever. I used to love, I still do, but there's some things that I have no idea about, because just like fashion NFTs, I'm like, well, I've got no idea about fashion. I've got no idea about the appeal, what someone's thought process is about the appeal. I understand this, like how this is so cool that you can actually own something and do that. So anyway, I'm gonna leave the video there. Hopefully it's something that you can just have food for thought later, and maybe follow it along and see what happens. Be interesting. I think 0.75, 0.8 would be potentially the lows. In a bear market, it could go far lower, but at the moment we're not in that. So that's the thought process along those lines. And yeah, I'm gonna leave the video there, everyone. So see you later. Bye.